Thank you again, everyone, for joining. We're here to talk about TNs, which is one of my favorite visas. Actually, I think that TNs are great. I think that they've continued to get more and more popular. More employers are using them for more and more different roles. It's really cool because for certain roles, it lets you access all of North America to get the best talent available to you. And it's a great visa, but I think it's going to continue to gain traction. It's going to continue to get better, and that employers are going to use it more and more. So I'm excited about talking about this one. Again, for those that just joined, I'm going to go over at a high level. What is the TN visa? Who's it applicable to? What are some common industries where we see it? And then I'm going to go into just some compliance related matters. These are more things that have happened and we've seen happening that kind of trip up employers. So just trying to help people not have that problem. At a high level, like what's the value of the TN? And one thing that we've seen, and we've seen this for years now, is it's just taking longer to fill roles. And that doesn't mean just, the roles that have traditionally been hard in businesses to fill. It's even the higher level roles, the more skilled roles. We've seen that it's gotten harder for employers to fill those, and even after they're getting fewer qualified candidates, they also have a lot more turnover. Seems like the labor market's a lot less sticky than it used to be. People just aren't sticking around as long. And those are some real benefits of the TN program is they help alleviate that. And it is really frustrating. I'm an employer. I understand what it's like to train someone, put a lot of time and energy into someone, especially if your business is one that it's not the same everywhere, and you put a lot of time into training people to perform the way that you expect them to perform, and your business expects them to perform, only for them to go and leave and work somewhere else. Those issues create operational issues. It creates operational pressure, something that the TN really helps you alleviate. The delays in filling the roles are high. And one thing that we've seen, there's another program that a lot of people maybe aren't as familiar with that are on here, or maybe they're more familiar with it, called the H-1B program. The H-1B program's used a lot in the healthcare industry. It's used a lot in the tech industry in particular. And that is a very competitive program. And they even put a $100,000 fee on new H-1Bs this year, and there was still a cap. The cap was still reached. There was plenty of competition for it. The government filing fees are really high for it. And so the H-1Bs just become less and less reliable, while the TNs just remain steady. Even in these high skilled roles, having the turnover it really erodes the institutional knowledge within your business. It erodes your workforce, your culture. It's hard on a business. And so having tools to remedy that, I think, is something that's very important, and it's very valuable for businesses. I think that's where the TN usually plays a strong role. Here's some areas that we see all the time for TNs. On our side, we're doing a lot of recruitment, and we're also doing the preparation of the visa applications and all of that. And these roles we run into all the time. Engineering roles within manufacturing businesses, the meat processing industry, we see those all the time. Accounting. In fact, I've even used accounting TNs in my own business, and that's been great. It's been awesome. And I love our accountants. If they're on here, shout out to the accounting team. Great job, guys. At agriculture, we bring in a ton of TNs for agriculture. There's specific roles. TN visa, there's a list of eligible categories. And so animal breeding is one we see all the time. Agronomists, we see it all the time. And they're pretty versatile within agriculture. For construction, we see a lot of engineering and project managers, estimators, those sorts of people that we're filling in construction companies. It's a great visa for them too, especially for construction companies where a lot of their work is in more remote areas. One of the really nice things about TNs is that they're not as particular about where they're going to live. And so you might have an engineer that just wants to live in a big city and work for a construction company in a big city, and that's a U.S. hire. And I think that that's great. But there is a lot of construction that has to take place in different areas, in remote areas, and it's hard to fill those jobs. And so that's a really great way to use TNs. In hospitality, there's a lot of management level roles that you can fill with TNs. And then the technical or maintenance side, it kind of overlaps with the engineering and the manufacturing side. We see a bunch of those. And there's over 60 professional categories. I only listed a few of them that we fill, but we fill categories in all sorts of roles, all sorts of industries, using the TN program. Cool thing about the TN is it's been around for a long time. It was originally established in NAFTA. It was carried over in the USMCA in 2020. It had these pre-designated lists. It hasn't changed much over time. There's still no numerical cap. There's no lottery. It's a very predictable way of bringing people in. One of the questions that I get from people is how long is the initial visa is good for 3 years. And the subsequent question I get from that is, okay, so they have to leave after those 3 years. No, they don't. You can continue to renew the TN and have them here. And I've got clients that have had TNs here for over 20 years. And so it's great. It's a long-term strategy. It's not something where you're going to have to replace the people all the time. Whenever I think about TNs, and this is the case with anything immigration related, my suggestion is never that you use immigration as a replacement of your domestic pipeline. It is meant as a tool to complement it. Whenever there's gaps in your local candidate pool, or they're unavailable, it's high turnover, anything like that, that's where TNs are best used. And I don't suggest using any visa category to replace the U.S. workforce. That undermines the actual purpose of it. The rationale behind it, that's the integrity of the program. That's why we have it. It's not as a replacement of the U.S. workforce. It is a complement to it. And again, just the TN just really adds a lot of stability in key departments, which I've had clients that's extremely important to, where they've had turnover issues. And it helps reduce that downtime where you're continually training people, continually hiring new people and all that. So overall, awesome visa. So this is just some SHRM data. 75% of organizations have difficulty hiring. You know, I'm kind of surprised it's only 75%, to be honest with you, but and 47% are saying recruiting is getting harder in 24 and 25. The interesting thing about that data is how that data fluctuates over time. I would say that right now it's easier than it normally is to hire people, and I still don't think it's particularly easy. And then the difficulty for skilled roles, 55% of organizations say that that's been a struggle for them. So as I mentioned earlier, NAFTA originally created the TN. USMCA replaced NAFTA, but it didn't change the structure of TNs, which was awesome. At the time, I wasn't sure if it was going to or not, and it just continued the same. There's a formal review scheduled. I think it's in June, so I think we're actually coming up pretty close on it on the USMCA. Hopefully nothing changes with it, because it is one of my favorite visas. If anything, I would love to see a few more occupation codes added in there and a little bit more clarity with certain roles that require certifications. But I mean, you've got certain roles like veterinarians, for example, that require certifications before they get here, and licensing and all that sort of stuff. So now moving on into some of the compliance, a lot of the folks on here, they already use TNs. And so I want to make sure that people are aware of this. The most common mistake that we've been seeing lately is related to I-94s with reentry. It's the one where it causes particular issues when it comes time for renewal or new visas. And so I just want to make sure everyone's aware of this so that they can implement some of the policies that we're going to be talking about here in a second to avoid these issues. So the I-94 is very important because it defines the authorized stay. It's a separate document from the visa, and it actually overrides the visa stamp. So if your date on the I-94 changes, it's from the visa date. The I-94 date is the one that controls, not the visa. And it's a document that you use for I-9 compliance. So it is important, and it's something to watch out for. So this is what we're seeing. And this is consistent across employers, across industries, across job categories. It's not a thing that CBP is doing to pick on any type of particular employer. But what we're seeing is the I-94s aren't they're not updated after reentry, or that they're issuing the incorrect expiration date. That one is what we're seeing the most of, that requires immediate attention. And so what's happening is they come over and then CBP issues them a new I-94, oftentimes entering the wrong admitted until date is how it reads on the I-94. HR just assumes that everything's fine. The TN beneficiary assumes everything's fine. It goes unnoticed for months, and then it creates status complications. So whenever you're renewing a TN, you have to demonstrate that the person is still in valid status. And so let's just say that your I-94 was backdated by a year, and then you are submitting your extension 6 months before your original expiration. Well, you actually overstayed your visa. And when that happens, it can trigger bars, it can trigger denials, it can have a lot of issues. And so but that's usually where it gets flagged, is whenever it comes time for renewal, it'll get flagged, oh, this I-94 actually expired, and it causes a lot of problems with the extension. So it's something to pay very close attention to, because you can actually remedy it before it becomes, whenever it's CBP's fault and they just need to update it, you can actually remedy that. But you have to do it before it becomes an issue. Otherwise, it makes the extension filing significantly more difficult. Another thing that we see is with the passports. A lot of times the person's passport expires. So let's say that you're granted a 3-year TN visa, but your passport expires in a year. A lot of times the I-94 will be limited to the validity time of the passport, not of the visa, and people won't catch that again until it's too late. So there's a mechanism that you go through to actually rectify that, but you have to be paying attention. So here's the best practices that we recommend to people for whenever their workers leave and come back. And I'm going to talk to y'all in a second about what is automatic visa revalidation, because I think that there's a lot of misconceptions related to that as well. So I'll talk to y'all about that too. But here's the best practices. Whenever you have a TN worker leaving, review and they come back. So they're going home to Mexico to spend time with their family. They come back. Review their I-94 whenever they get back. Not you can't do it before. Make sure that you review it whenever they get back, and you can access it within 24 hours at that website right there. It's not a hard thing to do, but it is a procedure that you need to go through. And then make sure that you have a calendar, a tracker. A lot of clients do this in Excel or in Smartsheet, or there's a lot of ways you do it. In some HR compliance platforms, you can do it too. Where you're proactively maintaining a calendar to track the I-94 expirations so that you can renew. And this says to set an alert 90 days to allow for renewal. You can even do it 6 months in advance. The renewal can come 6 months prior to the expiration, which I actually like, because then you're not having a premium process and saving a bunch of money, which you shouldn't have to at 90 days either, but it's just tighter, and there's oftentimes no reason for it. And then train the HR team, the payroll teams, to understand what this issue actually is. What is the I-94 gap? How can you check it? And then when do we need to submit for renewals? And then just keep good records. Document each I-94 review with a date stamp. Keep a trail of how that's moved over time, just so you're on top of it for all of your TN beneficiaries. Goes a long way. I mentioned automatic visa revalidation a moment ago. This is another compliance related issue, because there's a lot of misconceptions about what automatic visa revalidation is. So automatic visa revalidation allows certain individuals with an expired U.S. visa to enter Canada or Mexico without obtaining a new visa, provided specific conditions are met. The specific conditions are that they're with the same employer in the same status. And so I'll give a couple examples of where automatic revalidation doesn't happen, and so it causes issues for employers. Let's say that you run a H2B program and you also run a TN program. And your H2B program, you are a construction company, and you're bringing in people to do framing. And you learn that one of your framers is an engineer, and you have this estimating role available that he could fill. And so you do a change of status filing. So he changes from H-2B to TN. Originally on an H-2B visa, that was the original visa. And then he switched status to TN. He's got a new I-94. The visa expires while he's in the United States. Totally fine. He can work on that. No big deal. The problem is that whenever he leaves, because he doesn't check that first or that second box that he's not in the same status that he was originally granted, automatic visa revalidation doesn't apply, which means he needs to actually go get a new visa in his passport. The other circumstance where I see it often is if a employee moves from one employer to the other. So let's say that that same circumstance. No, let's use a different circumstance. You're a construction company. You bring in an estimator on a TN, and then that TN beneficiary then moves to a new employer, still under a TN visa, but with a different employer. And then he leaves to go to Mexico. Again, automatic visa revalidation in that circumstance does not apply. And so that's where I usually see it. So then what you need to do if you have an employee where automatic visa revalidation doesn't apply is you need to make sure that whenever they're traveling to Mexico, that they have a visa appointment where they can go and get a new visa in their passport. So that's automatic visa revalidation. It also doesn't apply. This doesn't happen as much, but it does happen occasionally where let's say that you've got a TN visa worker that you brought in. We'll use the same estimator role, and the visa worker wants to go and travel to Colombia. Their visa's expired. They've got a valid I-94 though, and so they fly from Chicago to Colombia. Automatic visa revalidation doesn't apply in that circumstance either, because if they visit a third country during their trip, it doesn't apply. So always verify the travel plans, because it can impact their ability to re-enter if they're relying on automatic visa revalidation. We've seen kind of inconsistencies with some of the administration of automatic visa revalidation. We've seen cases where TN visa holders with an expired visa for 5 or more years have been denied re-entry into the United States and required to obtain a new TN visa, even though they should be eligible for TN or for automatic visa revalidation. And that's just, they should be eligible for it, but they're not. And so what they'll do is make them leave and then go get a new embassy appointment, go get a new TN and proceed that way. Employers don't usually lose control with the hiring process of TNs. The part where they usually stumble is in the maintaining of compliance, and it might not even be their fault. It might not even be the beneficiary's fault. It might be because of a misunderstanding of what automatic visa revalidation is, or it might be because CBP messed up an I-94 and they just didn't catch it. And so that's why we talked through, go through these steps. And then what is automatic visa revalidation, because it's the most common stumbling block for employers. So we just like to make sure that the employer has proper procedures that they can use to avoid those issues. Good news is, though, if you need help, you don't have to do it alone. We're happy to help prepare TN applications, recruit candidates, qualify roles for you to make sure that they are actual TN eligible roles. And then we can also help you with ongoing compliance, just monitoring I-94s, HR training, documents, just being ready and in order so that you don't have those issues. Here's some of our contact information. If you want to learn more about TNs or have any questions or anything like that, just email us right here. Talk through how TNs work if you have more questions on that. Also to review eligibility on particular roles. A lot of times people don't know if a role qualifies for a TN or not. And so part of what we want to do is just look at the role with you and learn about the role. And if TN's a good fit, great. We can open up all of North America to recruit the best talent. So it's a great visa. I appreciate everyone.